Hey, we running it back. You know what time it is. It is Call It What You Want time. It's your Good to Great podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Davies, alongside the legend, U.S. men's national team, one of the GOATs in between the pipes, and the U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer, Tony, the OG Meola. You know I had to throw the OG in there. This is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. This is a special podcast. Of course, Jimmy Conrad, our comrade who is in Europe, frolicking in the leaves, in the woods. Somewhere doing his thing. He popped up for a second at the Girona game, which I think Girona won, and he won his bet on Morning Footy. But he's missed. I know he'll join us again shortly. But let's get right into it. We just saw Champions League this week. Christian Pulisic has scored once again. That puts him on how many Champions League goals overall? Who do you overtake, 11? Tony? And who do you just overtake?
He overtook Eden Hazard, which I was when I saw it, I was shocked. I was like, it would have been what, sometimes you can guess if someone scored a lot of goals or didn't or whatever, played a lot of games. Like I would have thought that Eden Hazard was way above 10 goals, but I would have completely lost that bet. That's for sure.
My mind is like, I'm doing the E equals MC squared. I'm trying to figure out all this. We'll get into that later in the conversation, but let's talk about these MLS Cup playoffs, which have been absolutely insane, upsets everywhere. Which team are you most surprised about being in the conference finals?
Being in the conference finals, I'm gonna say Red Bull, not because of the fact that they come in as a 7 seed. Just I don't know. There always has been things that have gone wrong in the playoffs for them, and the way that they play, and in one-off games, if they give up a goal early, and they got to stretch themselves, but they've been really good. They deserve to be here, man. And they're going to play an Orlando side that is really good with the ball. But again, when you play Red Bull, you don't get pressed like that by anybody else in the league. For a while with Almeida in San Jose, they would press a little bit like that, but it was different. It was like Atalanta presses you man to man, and they run all over the field, and that got figured out after a little while. But this Red Bull side, there's an edge about them. There's a spirit that they have. I think they've kind of embraced the fact that they are the lowest seed in the tournament, right? Left, and they came in as a 7, so it's not as if they were a favorite going in. Almost in a lot of ways like Atlanta did, right, before they got knocked out. And there's something about them. I'm just surprised they're here. I'm happy for them. It's my old club. I hope that they get to a final because they've been yearning for this forever. We talked about it this past Monday. You and I, we joked a little bit about it, but it's a club. You talk about OGs. It's an OG club, although there was a name change.
Yeah, so it can't be technically an OG club.
I'd love to see him get to a final. If you know, you know, right? What's that? If you know, you know.
What is that? Is it the Metro Stars? I don't know. What I will say is, yeah, of course, you are a legend of the club. You were the first captain, right? Do they still hook you up with like new
they're great, man. They're great. Now, whenever I'm in town, it's one of those relationships like. We're not in contact all the time, but like if I ever need anything, if they ever have like events, they are great with that stuff. And as is my other club, Sporting Kansas City, I got to say that those two clubs have been awesome. And I couldn't, for someone who's not around the club, like I couldn't have asked for anything more.
That's exactly how I feel about the Philadelphia Union, who I played with them very shortly, like a brief stint, year and a half, right? Only a year with DC. But I feel like that club is tattooed on my heart, given the circumstances around me being in DC. And then New England Revolution, like I still work for the club, and that's my hometown club. So those three clubs have been great with me. New England is probably the club that everyone links me to just because of I'm from here and
sure.
We got to an MLS Cup final. But if I call DC or I call Philly, it feels like I had just left, and they always welcome me with open arms. So I can agree with you and vibe with you on that.
You know what I love, Charlie? I don't, just before you get off, when you go back to those clubs and you see all those same people that are working, like the guys that are at the locker room and the guys when you're walking out of the tunnel and everybody, photographers, like all those people have been around forever that, a lot of times we don't think about because we're always talking about the players and the coaches and the staff. And, we sit here and we judge every performance and all of that stuff. Those are the heartbeat of the clubs. Like those are the people that put a smile on your face when you go in there, especially after the fact. And I was always good with everybody at the club. Like I always made it a point to, make sure I greeted all those people all the time. And the ones that are still there and it's awesome to go back and see them and just give them a hug, like that's cool. Of course you like being part of the whatever ceremony or the game or the event, whatever it is. But and those people are heartbeats of clubs. That's why when you talk about, pro rel, and if anyone's ever seen, we're getting off here on a tangent, but hell, it's Thanksgiving. When you talk about Sunderland Till I Die, right? If you ever watch that documentary and they get relegated the first time and all those people behind the scenes get fired, right? Because they don't have any money, right? Like those people, they're the heartbeat of clubs, man. And I that's what I love when I go back to those clubs.
Well, I think that's important to know. Ooh, Tony Meola and that Metro Star stuff. That ponytail is looking nice. Oof. Steven Seagal. I don't know if that's Meola or Steven Seagal.
Yeah. Dez is working hard right now. Holy by the way, that jersey, I have those jerseys. Oh, so those are the heaviest jerseys ever created. Like they weigh, you start sweating in those things, they were like 5 pounds you're carrying around those jerseys.
What about the shorts?
Oh, the shorts were good. They were solid.
Yeah, the shorts look solid.
Yeah. That was back in the day. When did you come into the league? What year did you come in?
Probably when you got a hip replacement. In 2011 was my first season.
Oh, see, hip replacement. You're a jackass. Those back in the day when everybody wore the same uniforms, just a different color. Like every year, everyone had the striped socks. Everyone had the
same. It's the same template for everybody, right?
Every just different color, man. We've come a long way, man.
Although the Revs went Reebok, so they were not one of those Nike teams. Like you had Dallas Burn, Metro Stars, San Jose Clash, right?
LA Galaxy.
I don't think the Columbus Crew were Nike either, though.
Columbus Crew. That's a good. Yeah, I don't feel like they were.
Revs weren't. Columbus Crew wasn't. You remember there was somebody, I think it was the Mutiny. They were Nike, but then I think it was
Mutiny definitely were the same ones.
Yeah.
That greenish,
I think it was Miami Fusion who went Umbro.
They did, but they came in, I think 2 years. I think they're like a 98 team. They came in.
Okay. DC United, sure. Adidas. They didn't go. Yep.
Yeah.
There were some nice kits. I do remember being a fan of those OG retro MLS kits. Like they were unique. They were different. Ivis said your ponytail weighed 5 pounds. Forget the jersey.
So I was 10 pounds heavier than that jersey.
Yes. All right. So let's start with Orlando here, right? Orlando getting to the conference finals. They've had like a sneaky good season. When you look at Facundo Torres, right? Facu, he's been an absolute beast. And he's had solid seasons, right? In MLS, but it feels like this season he put a staple down as being one of the dominant players in this league, one of the elite players in this league. Like forget all-star. We're talking like an elite, someone who can win you a conference title, who can win you an MLS Cup. What do you make of Orlando? What do you like about Orlando?
Strong in the back and the spine. I think Alexis is as solid as anybody. Janssen, the center back, I voted for him for MLS Defender of the Year last year. He had an incredible season. I think he covers Schlegel a little bit. Rafael Santos, the left back, he can get up and down the field. I covered them quite a bit this year. But I think the engine, Cartagena and Araujo in the middle of the field, those guys make this team click. Facundo Torres, you're absolutely right. He's as special a player, like a game changer type of player as we have in this league. I'm actually surprised he's still here in MLS. I'm surprised that after the couple of years that he's had, he hasn't been bought in for money. But who knows what that turns out to be. Angulo on the other side is equally as dangerous.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
in MLS.
and
he has like he has a kind of profile of, like, obviously he's not Vinny Jr., but he has that type of ability where he'll run at you 1v1. He likes to create. He's obviously not as clinical as a Vinny Jr. in that sense, but that's the type of profile, obviously on a smaller scale, of a winger who's dynamic.
Yeah, he's got a little unpredictability to his game, and you need that in your team. Now, the questions for Oscar Pareja, remember, they keep Duncan Maguire. They buy Muriel, who hasn't turned out to be the player that they thought, although he's had moments coming in as a substitute, but he's gone with Ramiro Enrique up top as the number 9 and Ojeda behind him. Those are two like real important tactical moves. Duncan Maguire is a guy that comes off the bench. And then I thought it was a shrewd pickup in the offseason to bring Lodeto in. And knowing that this is a guy for probably 5 or 6 years, was one of the premier number 10s in all of Major League Soccer. And you bring him in, and he's at the end of his career, and you basically tell him, okay, this is your role on our team. You're a super sub for us. And he's embraced the role the entire season. He looks like he's having fun. When you bring him in 60 minutes in, 70 minutes in the game, when everyone's slowed down a little bit, now he can pick you apart. He's been a really important piece. So I think they're pretty solid. Thorhalson, the right back, gets up and down the field. I think they're really solid.
I think he's very good. He's underrated.
Yep. I agree, 100%.
He comes inside. He's quick. I feel like he's always on the front foot. He's thinking about positive passes going forward and not negative. He's not afraid to test you in behind. I really like him. I also like that when you look at Enrique up top, right? Not your prototypical goal scorer, but he's constantly moving, right? He makes good runs. He's intelligent. He has good technique, but Ramiro Enrique is not the player that you think of is going to take you to the promised land, right? He's not the player that you think of who's going to get you 20 goals in a season or more, but he's effective and he fits into that style, right?
Yeah, and he's had a great season. He fits a role for Oscar and this group, and it's an important decision because look, like I said, you kept Duncan Maguire. Okay, he goes to the Olympics. It doesn't work out for him. Did he lose confidence during that? I don't know. Unless you sit with him every day, you wouldn't really know. But right. They're a dangerous team. There was a period of time, if you go look right towards the end of the season, within the last 10 games of the season, there was a period of time where they scored 3 or more goals. I think 6 out of 7 games. And in one of those, they actually lost. So they get on a run and they can score some goals. This press from the Red Bulls is going to be really, really interesting because if there's a knock on Orlando, there's times in games where they take their foot off the pedal a little bit, and Red Bull is not going to take their foot off the pedal. So this is, of the two, this is the one that has the most contrasting styles, even though on the other side, the Galaxy's the highest scoring team and Seattle's the best defensive team.
Yes.
So, yeah. So it's a stat difference, but the style for me, the Eastern Conference has the bigger difference.
And I think that's why I had predicted this conference finals matchup. But
the East or the West? Which one?
In the East. And it's because I think when you look at Red Bulls, and I predict Red Bulls to win because Orlando don't have the killer instinct. Like, they don't knock you out. Like, even if they're up 1-0, I think they keep it too close for a team like Red Bulls, who are constantly trying to get in behind and that counter press, right? That they do so well. They still have essence of that, but you throw in Forsberg and Lewis Morgan. I think those are 2 players that can really hurt you. Now we're going to go to the Western Conference. And for me, this is probably the best matchup in terms of the best defense versus the best offense. I mean, the Galaxy have scored 15 goals in their last 3 matches. What? Gabriel Peck, newcomer of the year. You throw in Paintsil, you throw in Joveljic, Ricky Puig, and Marco Reus, who we haven't even talked to, is just kind of, I feel like he's just catching up to the pace of this Galaxy side in the league, right? He's just basically allowed himself to understand how his team works. He's just caught up. I think this is a phenomenal matchup. And for Seattle, who surprised, I think, a lot of people, I knew they're coming in hot. 9 games unbeaten, have only conceded 5 goals in the past 9 games. But what excites you most about this matchup? And, you know, a Schmetzer versus Vanny yet again, like, hey, this has a lot of complexity to it.
Yeah, the big difference between one of their historic meetings is about where they're playing in LA is about 80 degrees. I was in Toronto for that final, bro. You couldn't talk. So that's the big difference in this game. Look, LA, I had their game this past weekend, and they were impressive. They could have scored 8 goals. Obviously, Dane St. Clair saves a penalty kick. He made a couple other big saves. But these two managers know each other. They've both beaten each other in a final. You got Stefan Fry, who still has, for me, the best single save ever made in a final up in Toronto. Was at the ball. I forget who crossed, but it was Josie Altidore that headed the ball, and he goes back and makes that play. That was a wild night. And then on another night, in another year, you see Josie breaking through and scoring. Those games were incredible. But these two managers know each other. Did you ever have
a big save in a final?
Just one.
What was that? What was that save?
2000.
And who was it against?
That was. Who did we play in the final? Chicago Fire. Yeah, we beat them in the finals. We beat them in 2 finals. We beat them in the Open Cup, and a couple years later, I loved playing them in the finals.
Walk me through that save.
The big one was on Josh Wolf early in the second half. We were up 1-0, and so I made like 4 pretty good saves in that, but the ball comes across on the ground and Josh thinks he's got a goal, and I go down and he hits it pretty good, and it just a reaction save. But I made like 4 good saves that game. Funny story, first and only time it ever happened to me. Of course, our viewers will remember Risto Stoichkov. A ball bounces out to Stoichkov around the top of the 18, and it's about waist high, and he hits this side volley. I mean, he crushes one, but it's right at me. And I hated dropping balls. I needed to catch everything, right? No one catches anything anymore. I catch the ball, right? And solid catch, and like I'm, inside, you're like, because when you catch the ball from one of you forwards, you guys get pissed off. You're like, I struck that one good. How did he catch that one? So I throw the ball out, whatever. I don't know if I punted it or I threw it out. And all of a sudden I feel like this wind in my hand. Like I feel like something weird. Dude, he split my gloves all the way across with that shot. He hit it so hard. All 4 fingers across, all 4 seams split the entire glove. That's what I was feeling, was the air going in. So I'm screaming to the bench, I got to get another glove on, First time it ever happened. And I remember, it's funny because if I get like wind on my hand, it feels like that day. It's just so funny. Yeah, he's become a friend of mine.
I don't think I've ever heard of someone splitting a keeper's glove from a shot.
Never happened to me. It could have been a faulty glove, but this was 80 minutes into the game, and this dude, he got through. I'll never forget it, man. But yeah, that was a good day. When Sporting won, well, we were Kansas City Wizards at the time. We weren't Sporting Kansas City at the time. So, by the way, I played for 2 clubs that changed their name. That's kind of weird.
It's got to be weird. I feel for you because you can't really say that's the club when it's slightly different, right? You have all your jerseys say a different name, right?
Well, no, because I have the Red Bull. I was there for the change of the Red Bull. I was there the night we changed in the stadium. We handed, which I think were our longest season ticket holders. So we literally warmed up in MetroStars jerseys. We took them off after the warm-up, handed to the fans, whoever they picked. I think they were all, longest season ticket holders. And then we came out in Red Bull jerseys. That was it. That was the end of it. Wow. It was crazy. When they told us in preseason, Mo Johnston came in, he was the coach, and he just goes, like, think about it. If you're sitting there, go, guys, get around. We're going to meet, we go meeting. He goes, just want to let you know, we're no longer the Metro Stars. We're called the New York Red Bulls. Like, what are you talking about, man? No one knew anything. It happened in we were in preseason in 1 minute. No one had any idea. Like, nah, Mo, you can't. You're joking. Nope. We'll be out of this gear at the end of this trip in preseason. So that was it. We were done.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So let's get to predictions. Who you got coming out of the East?
I'm gonna ride the Red Bulls here in the Eastern Conference. More so because they're my old team and I want to see them go through. And as much as I'm defense wins championships, I'm a buyer of that theory. What I saw from the LA Galaxy in their home, I got to go with the Galaxy here. And it kills me because this goes so against everything that I believe. So I'm in 2024. It's the first time I ever changed my theory. So I'm going to Galaxy.
I'm telling you right now, not only is Stephen Fry going to have a problem with you, Schmetzer is putting this podcast smack dab in the middle of the locker room. Tony Meola is doubting us. He said defense doesn't win championships. He said,
no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. No, okay. You said that. That's my theory. And maybe it's recency bias. I just covered this Galaxy game, the 6-2 against Minnesota, and Minnesota's not the same team as Seattle, right? I think we all agree on that. But man, they were impressive. But I don't know. Maybe we got a guest that's going to talk me out of it a little bit later.
We got a special guest a little bit later.
Wait, who you picking? Well, no, you can't. No, don't do this. Can't escape. Don't do the Jimmy Conrad on me.
I'm not doing any Jimmy up in here. I was planning on telling you who I think is going to the final. Red Bulls versus Galaxy, and I have Galaxy because I am an attacker. I am a striker. I'm all about the goals. And Galaxy are on a tear right now. And I think Greg Vanney finally has a squad this season. He's turned around. Think about where they were last year. We were talking about, all right, not only is Chris Klein out, but Greg Vanney, because he wasn't producing. Even though, you had the looming presence of Chris Klein in making these decisions and signing these terrible player contracts, you felt that, okay, Greg Vanney, not doing it, at least coaching and having them play a certain style to get the most out of the current group he had. But this season, oh my God, the addition of Paintsil and giving you pace, finally sticking with Joveljic. You've had him this whole time, but 15 goals.
15 goals, man.
I mean, let's go. And Ricky
two this weekend, right? 2 this weekend.
13 goals and 9 assists in the midfield. And I was thinking to myself, how are you going to break this trio up of Joveljic, Peck, and Paintsil, right? This trio when you add a Marco Reus. But Marco Reus in the midfield, actually, that to complement Gabriel Peck and Cerrillo, for instance, you have Mark Delgado to come in, you have Diego Fagundes to come in, you have Brugman to come in. It feels like he not only does he have his starting 11 set, but he has a good depth.
He made the one change. He made one change. It was Marco Reus that came in, and in our coach's call, he said to us, I still have a decision to make between Mark Delgado and Marco Reus in this game. And he was asked what would sway the decision one way or the other. And he said, depending on how we finalize thinking that they're going to play. So if we think they're going to sit back, we're going to go with Marco Reus. If we think that they're going to pressure us a little bit more, we're going to go with Mark Delgado. And clearly he thought that they were going to sit back a little bit, and Reus was the guy who got the start. But Minnesota hadn't made any changes the entire playoffs. Actually only had 2 substitutes that had played at that point. And Vanney had an advantage because they were shellacking Colorado, and he made multiple changes. So yeah, they've got their work cut out for them, though, with this Seattle side, no doubt.
Got to give A. Ivis a shout out. He said Jordan Morris with another winner. Book it. Okay, that's asking a lot from Jordan Morris. Back-to-back game winners. But
wow.
When we come back, we got much more to talk on, especially Christian Pulisic again scoring in Champions League, again thriving as Milan get the win. Don't go anywhere.
If you love football, this is the best time of the year.
This is as big as it gets.
The stuff of absolute dreams.
All right, it's playoff time, and we have a star center back for the Seattle Sounders who's competing for the Western Conference title against the LA Galaxy, Jackson Ragen. Jackson, welcome to the show. You're making your debut on Call It What You Want.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an exciting debut.
So tell me what you're looking forward to in this Western Conference final, your first Western Conference final, right? And you've had some battles with the Galaxy. What are you expecting this time?
Expecting one of the best attacks in the league, and some of the best players. I think all across the front three and midfield, they're some of the best in the league, and just excited for the challenge. And I think the team's ready for it, and hopefully we come out with the win.
Talk about the win the other night. Look, you're playing an LAFC team that had your number, and we've all been in a place where some team just has you, right? Some team just figures you out, and then Jordan Morris turns around from the angle and the way he squeezes that thing in the near post. Just kind of talk about being on the road and what that dressing room was like after that match.
Yeah, it's always huge to get a playoff win on the road, but against LAFC, like you said, a team who's beat us a lot the last couple of years, and knocked us out of the playoffs last year. I think it meant more to everyone, like all the players, coaching staff. And yeah, I think just the team went into it with the mentality that like the pressure's on LA, like we have nothing to lose here. So just go play as a team and enjoy ourselves. And I think that really helped us, play together as a team and come out with the dub.
So Jackson, this is being taped on Thanksgiving. How does one celebrate Thanksgiving with these Seattle Sounders? Are you going to a teammate's house? Is it family? Like, what are you going to be looking forward to doing on this day?
I will be at a friend's house with their family.
Okay.
They're taking me in for Thanksgiving, luckily. Yeah.
I remember literally 10 years ago to the day, we were in the Eastern Conference Finals playing the Red Bulls, which we won. Sorry, Tony. He was obviously connected to the Red Bulls. But I had at my house 5 of my teammates come to hang out and eat. So I'm surprised that the Sounders aren't doing like a big team thing, or getting multiple guys in one house.
I mean, we already see each other so much. We do a lot of like team dinners and stuff, which has been great for team chemistry and all that kind of stuff. But all the guys have families and stuff, and they're doing whatever they're doing. So, but yeah, it'll be nice.
You heard it here that they don't like seeing each other too much in Seattle. That's what I got out of it.
I'm gonna get in trouble now.
No, you're good, man. You're good. Talk about we got so much I want to talk to you about, because I've covered a bunch of your games this year and speak to Brian Schmetzer, and I always ask him to tell me about you. And he's always said, you know what, this is one of the most underrated players here in the league. Just talk about your growth over the last 2 years and where you think you've improved the most.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think I've had to improve a lot. I came from the USL and eventually won a starting spot here, and I've had to adjust and elevate my game. But I think, just I've had to get a lot better at defending duels, just going up against most of the best players in MLS are attacking players. It's where they use a lot of the DP spots. So that's a big part where I've had to get better. But then also just breaking or like line breaking passes is probably my strength. So just really turning that into a super strength. And yeah, I think I've had to just develop in all facets really over the last couple of years.
Hey, I remember the Jackson Ragen at Michigan. I called one of your games Shaka Daly was he was a coach at Providence College when I was at Boston College. So I remember recruiting me and being involved in that process. So he spoke very highly of you. So I had my eye on you, and you obviously made it look very easy for yourself. You could read the game well. But if you were to tell the Jackson Ragen at Michigan where he is today, what would you say to yourself?
I wouldn't believe him. Honestly, I mean, I've always had faith in myself, but I guess I didn't get signed. I was in the academy at Sounders and didn't get signed out of high school, and then didn't get signed out of college, and then got drafted to Chicago, and then got cut, and then had to come back to Seattle and kind of work my way up. So it's been
what a story.
It's awesome.
There's a lot of times where I've like thought about that I wasn't going to make it. I wasn't good enough, and I think
what kept you going.
I think there's just been belief inside, and then you got to just give it a shot. Like what are you doing if you're not going to give it your all, and if you don't end up making it or being successful, then it wasn't meant to be.
Because there's a majority, at that time, Tony, that would just, throw in the towel because they just don't. Things haven't gone the way. I'm sure Chicago's kicking themselves now, Jackson. I can tell you that.
and Jackson, you got to have a manager, right, that believes in you. And you got to have assistant coaches that believe in you. Talk about Schmetz and. I imagine he's put his arm around you a couple times. He's kicked you in the backside a couple times. He's had you in his office a couple times, and you're smiling. So I know that he's already had you in your office. But has there been a word, words of wisdom that stick with you? Like what's it been like, that relationship?
Yeah, it's been great. He's a mentor for me. And I think he's shown a lot of belief in me and helped me develop here. And like you said, all the assistant coaches have been great, but especially Andy Rose works with the defense. And I think he's given me a ton of confidence and always worked with me after training on little things. But you're right. I think I've been able to thrive here because of people believing in me and the coaches kind of seeing what I can maybe become, and helping me work on that by giving me confidence, but also talking to me on the side when they know I'm doing something wrong or there's something I can do better.
I just love the way that you're positioned, Jackson, right now. You're an MLS Defender of the Year finalist, right? This is someone who had been passed, right? You passed on, and someone who said, "Oh, you're not good enough." You believed in yourself. You kept working, and you found the right situation, and you found what you need to work on to continue to develop, right? And get the playing time necessary to develop. So along the way, have you had a teammate that the Seattle Sounders that has been important to you, that has been a good voice of reason, who has kind of given you that constructive criticism when needed, but also, can push you and give you that confidence?
I think there's a lot. And I think that's why a lot of young players do well here. It's because the leadership in the team is great. Like Stephen Fry, Christian Roldan, Jordan Morris, all those guys who have been here for a lot of years. They're super helpful. And I think Schmetzer challenges the leaders in the team to bring other people up with them. And then I think Yamar has been a big, I think we have a great relationship on the field, but also off the field. I think he's just a great dude and helped me out a lot.
It's incredible, right? Because you played 4 in the back for the most part. This past weekend, you play with 3 in the back, right? And here, what I've seen, I'm not telling you because you're here, and I want to get to some admissions in a little bit because we did do some predictions. But I've seen the last 2 years, I think I've done probably 12 to 15 games, Seattle games. Last year, I saw Yamar not holding you up, but covering you, right? I'm seeing the shift now. Like, And not because one player is bad or one player is better, but I'm seeing you grow in this area where you're taking that responsibility. Do you feel that? Is that sort of where you're growing into right now in your mind?
I think maybe trying to take a little more ownership, but I think we just complement each other so well, and now playing together for 2 years straight, pretty much. Like, I think he's so athletic, I can let him be more aggressive, and I can cover him. And then obviously when I step in, he can cover me. But yeah, I mean, he's such a good defender, and then I'm good with the ball and building out of the back. So I think that's why we complement each other so well.
How's your Spanish?
It's had to get better.
Okay.
No bueno. No bueno.
Yeah, no bueno. Exactly.
So the LA Galaxy, right? They have the best home record in MLS, right? 13 wins, 1 loss, 3 draws. They're super dynamic in that front three, but also Ricky Puig coming out of midfield, late runs out of midfield, can strike from distance. You faced him, but you just overcome LA FC with Giroud and Denny Bouanga and Bogusz, right? You've dealt with an attacking trio that's very formidable in MLS. How do you plan on stifling this LA Galaxy machine that is 15 goals in 3 games when you guys are so obviously defensively stout? But this is a whole nother challenge when you're talking about Western Conference Finals with everything on the line.
For sure. And yeah, it's going to be a challenge. But also, I think I thought much different than LAFC, because LAFC's, a lot of transition. They don't need to have possession to be dangerous at all. And I thought Galaxy was like that, but watching that Minnesota game, they have so much pace, and if you let them in behind, they're so dangerous. So I think, just controlling that and not letting them get into dangerous areas.
Of those 4 attacking players, who makes you the uneasiest?
I think Gabriel Peck, right? I think he's looked really good. Cutting in on his left, 1v1 in space. But I think, we'll have Nuhu or Jonathan Bell to deal with that. And I have full confidence in our defense to match up.
All right, so some admission time here. So I'm going to give you the good stuff first. Charlie mentioned you were a finalist for Defender of the Year. I voted for you for Defender of the Year. I had a vote. That's the good stuff. I also said, I may as well throw this in because I'm going to kill myself after with this. I also said that January camp, I thought that you would be called in the Pochettino's camp based on your performance this year. With that said, I'm buttering you up because they make us do this weird thing here and give predictions for the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. And I told Charlie asked me, I said, my theory has always been defense wins championships. That's what my whole life was built around. And I picked the LA Galaxy in the Western Conference Finals. So hopefully I buttered you up enough earlier to let you know. These are all truths, by the way. Why will we be wrong in your mind that Seattle will go through?
I think it's the same as LAFC. Everyone thought they were going to win, and I think we're embracing that underdog mentality. And I have faith in our defense, even though they're the best attack in the league. And then I think Jordan and Albert and our attacking players are going to get a couple on the board to give the defense a little room for error, a little cushion.
Okay. I like that.
Well, do you want to tell them who you picked or no? Yeah, just me. I'm only going to tell them. Okay.
No, I was going to do it. Jeez.
No, you weren't.
I was a striker. I'm all about goals. I also picked LA Galaxy, but I do want to preface this. LAFC was very shaky to me. And I said, with Schmetzer and this Sounders team who have come alive, and it's all about that rhythm coming into the playoffs, and Seattle knows it better than anyone, and Schmetzer knows it better than anyone. You can have a slow start. It's not about the slow start. You can have a rough middle of the season, that rough patch, but it's end of August all the way through, picking up momentum and coming into the playoffs hot. Seattle Sounders does it better than anyone that's ever done it. Like that's their blueprint. And sometimes everyone's like, oh, well, it's not going to happen this year. And it happens every single season. So I want to give you guys credit because you guys absolutely deserve credit and you have a lot of talent and quality. But I just feel that there are so many weapons with this Galaxy side. As good as LAFC are, they're very predictable. And they're very shaky because Olivier Giroud, as good as he is, doesn't fit that style. So they were still trying to figure things out at this stage of the season where you guys, you know exactly who the hell you are. You have an identity and you guys are thriving. So now you're playing against a team that knows who they are. They're thriving. And whether it's Paintsel or it's Peck or it's Joveljic or it's Ricky Puig, there's just so many weapons that I think it might be a little too much, at least especially playing away from Seattle. But I'm looking forward to the match. So I wanted to give you that credit. Okay. In talking about the U.S. men's national team, right? Because it feels like the center back position, it's not the deepest with the U.S. And obviously you're 26 years old. You're coming into your prime and you're a late bloomer in that respect as well. So you probably have a little bit more room to grow than someone else that would be 26 at this stage of their career. So you're finally getting to that sweet spot. Are you dreaming now? Because you are an MLS finalist for Defender of the Year. Has it hit you yet that this is a real opportunity? You were on the verge of maybe hanging them up or thinking about, do I still want to play this game? And here you are on the verge of potentially getting U.S. men's national team call-up. Have you thought about that and what that could do for your career?
Yeah, it's amazing, and it is hard to really realize. I mean, I would have to pinch myself if I got a debut with the team, but I mean that's always been a dream of mine, and it would be amazing to get an opportunity. I was in the last January camp and picked up kind of a bizarre injury or like re-injury. So I'm hoping that I'll have a chance to get back there, and I know the only way to do that is to perform at the club level. So I'm just focusing on that and trying to win a championship right now.
Yeah, obviously you're focused on the next couple of weeks, and that's understandable. But I do want to ask you, when you watch national team games like we all do, and you make your own evaluations, and what area for you has to improve in your eyes to take that next step?
For me?
Yeah.
I think just being super solid defensively. I think I've had a few too many just errors for my liking. And so just cutting those out. And it's kind of just like things that are hard to explain, maybe just like a lapse of concentration or focus for a quick second. And so I think just really cleaning that up would go a long way.
Well, Jackson, I want to congratulate you on all the success that you've had. It's been incredible to see you thrive, especially knowing your story now in full depth. Right now, typically we have a live show, so the YouTube comments are flying, and we're always responding. People are trying to trigger us. I wish we got to have you on for a live show so you can see what we're exposed to every show. But I appreciate you. Wish you all the best, and thank you for joining us. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Good luck, Jackson. Yeah, all the best.
Wow.
Good kid, man, huh?
Great kid. Great
Incredible.
Kid.
Great story, man.
Every kid needs to hear that. Every kid. Because it's so true. There's one coach that says, or a sporting director, general manager, I don't see it in them, right? Or passes on them. How many times has that happened to young players? Christian Pulisic was one. Too small, right? For a lot of coaches. You have to see some of these kids for who they are, and some develop later than others. But give them that confidence. And he found the right spot, and look at him now. I mean, Chicago fired Tony. You told me they couldn't use Jackson Ragen.
Yeah, there's somebody that's kicking themselves. You said it, right? There's someone kicking themselves. Yeah, I think I think what we sometimes fail, like, because we're all fans, right? In the end, no matter what, we're still a fan of the game. We see someone having a struggle and we're like, that guy's no good. Well, maybe that guy's good, but maybe they're in the wrong spot, right? Maybe at the wrong club with the wrong manager. Because reality is, Jackson Ragen is MLS finalist for Defender of the Year. But if Brian Schmetzer doesn't believe in him 2 years ago, he's not MLS finalist this year for Defender of the Year. You got to have somebody to defend, to believe in you, and then of course you got to do the job, but somebody's got to give you a chance to do the job. So good on him, man. It's not kind of kid's easy to root for. I don't care if you like Seattle or you don't like Seattle. It's the easy kid to root for.
Couldn't agree more. So with that, we're going to take a brief break. When we come back, there's a lot more to get into, and keep these comments coming because we can't see them. This is taped on Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. Spare all the triggering comments for the Monday show, right? This is Thanksgiving. Let's be grateful and thankful for the show. Let's be grateful and thankful for health, that we can do the show, that you guys are all in the comments engaging with us. We absolutely are thankful for all of you guys watching the show, listening to us. It's incredible. And for behind the scenes, Des, Norris, all the hard work he puts into this, AI Viscalership. We appreciate you guys. So when we come back, of course, there's more to get into. Don't go anywhere.
Christian Pulisic here. Check out the official trailer for my new docuseries, Pulisic, coming soon to Paramount Plus. Soccer brings out a different character in me.
Captain America has taken this team on his shoulders.
He doesn't like to be called Captain America, but I don't care. You are Captain America.
Take a sneak peek into my trailer.
Turn that off.
Christian Pulisic is captain of the U.S. national team.
First time an American has been a main player.
Pulisic won it for Milan.
On one of the biggest clubs in the world. No pressure.
Every game under scrutiny.
I'm a pretty private person. I've got the camera in my face a lot. No, don't do that.
His leadership is unbelievable. I would like him to be a little bit the bad guy.
Christian's never wanted the spotlight.
These are the kind of goals that create legends.
You don't make documentaries about everybody.
I want to be the best player in the world.
Pulisic, the documentary exclusively on Paramount Plus, debuting on December 9th. Don't miss it. Tune in for this. Tony, you spent some time with him in Florida. What do you think of the development of Christian, where he is today? I know you know his father relatively well. So, what are your thoughts on Christian Pulisic as not only the player, but the human being?
Good kid, man. Wears his heart on his sleeve, works his tail off, is clearly gifted, right? I think that's pretty safe to say, right? Gifted with this incredible talent. And I believe him when he says he wants to be the best player in the world, because he does things on a daily basis and takes care of himself when he's away from the game to be that. I mean, we all say that, right? And I'm glad he says it. I think he's grown. I think in the 2018 team that didn't make it to the World Cup, he didn't have really a voice, right? He was a young kid, just trying to do his thing. And he played actually pretty well in those qualifiers. I'm still mad about the Costa Rica game at Red Bull Arena when he got kicked up in the air and nobody really did anything about it for 90 minutes. And then in 2022, I think you saw that was kind of his breakout party on the international scene. Tough time go back to Dortmund. Dortmund, really good, progresses. When you get a 70 or 75 million tag on you to go to Chelsea, like, you got a target on your back, man.
To replace Eden Hazard.
Yeah, it's a target, man.
Or potentially replace him, because that's the hole that was left when Hazard left.
Yeah, that's not easy, man, for anybody. And he's young. And keep in mind what people forget, because they think about the end and the injuries. When the teams came back from COVID, the Premier League was talking about Christian Pulisic as the best winger in the Premier League. He was tearing it up until he got hurt, right? Again. So it's not as if like this whole thing was bad. And when he went to Italy, I remember saying, I thought that if he stayed healthy, he would score 15 goals and have 10 assists, right? I thought he's a double-double. So yeah, look, I think that there's still more for Christian Pulisic. I really do. Physically, there's still more from him. There's still more to add to his games. And I'm happy that he's in a place that he's playing week in and week out. And I hope for a little while, again, money aside, I hope for a little while he can stay there and continue to grow as a player and a person.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you. One, I'm hyped to see this documentary. This docuseries, I think, has all the parts that you'd want in it, right? Zlatan Ibrahimovic talking about him. It feels like you have a number of people who have been around him, who have seen him in different elements of his life, who can give you that insight, because he is a private person, but you could tell he's respected. And just seeing him play, he has that gift. When you watch him play, you're like, okay, this guy has quick feet. He can get in and out. He can hit another level. And you're seeing the consistency and the health with Milan, that it worked with Pioli. He gets a new coach in Fonseca. You thought, okay, maybe things could be thrown out of balance. He maybe plays him out of position. He's only been more consistent, which is incredible. It tells you where he is mentally and physically. So I hope that we do see him at a Madrid one day, right? Or a Barca, one of these clubs, because I do think he has that level, because he's proving it right now, week in and week out. But in terms of his performance with Milan, another goal in Champions League, which brings his tally to 11, which is one more than Eden Hazard had in all of his Champions League appearances. It kind of puts in perspective where he is right now, right? He's still young. He hasn't even hit his prime. Like, what is left for him to achieve? Like, how far can he go? If he's got 11 right now, do you think he touches 25, 30?
Yeah, I think you're talking about the guy's going to play in Champions League for a long time now, right? So, of course, if he played 5 more years and scored 2 goals a year in Champions League, that's where you're going, right? Like, it just makes sense numerically but yeah, I think what's next for him, there's 2 things, right? At the club level, to consistently be the guy on his team, right? So right now, he's the man at Milan. He's their best player. Can you do that now at the next club, wherever that is? And I hope it's years from now. And then the international level. Okay, getting to the second round was one thing in 2022, but that's not going to be acceptable in 2026. No. Can Christian Pulisic help put this team on his shoulders? Because for me, a quarterfinal is the bare minimum when you're with this group playing at home. With Pochettino there, like, everything is lining up for me to feel confident enough that the group's got to get to that in a minimum. And when you get to those levels, we've seen the greatest teams in the world get knocked out, right? So it's just a crapshoot at that point. Sure, you got to play well and all that, but that's the bare minimum. Can he put this team on his shoulders? Because after this World Cup, if Christian Pulisic is not already a star, he's going to be a superstar in this World Cup. I mean, he's going to be, look, I lived it in the U.S. I lived what it does for the rest of your life. And that's not even close to what Christian and this group is going to go through, because the exposure is so much bigger. As big as it was in 94, it's tenfold right now.
Agreed. I can't wait to see him continue to thrive with the U.S. I mean, he put his body on the line in 2022, right? In that game against Iran, where he takes a smack to the pelvis. But you could see he's doing whatever he can to have this country succeed. So I look forward to seeing him continue to ball out. Time for the mailbag. Let's open it up. Let's see some of these questions that you guys have been wanting us to answer. I'm actually kind of a little scared because I don't want to get triggers Thanksgiving. So let's see what questions we got. All right. From Nicholas Jagno. Where would the top 4 seeded MLS teams, Miami, Columbus, LAFC, and LA Galaxy, sit in the top 5 European leagues? Would any be able to break into a Champions League spot? Tony, go ahead. address this.
Let's pick a league, right? I'll pick Serie A because I watch Serie A, right?
Okay.
And first I don't think we finish in Champions League spot in Premier League. In
La Liga?
Serie A, La Liga, that would be tough. It would be a battle. Clearly, there's 3 teams in La Liga that finish at the top. Not in La Liga. But it wouldn't be. It'd be mid-table. Somewhere for me, mid-table to second, third of the table, if you will. Italy this year, I think Italy is there's tight race at the top, but I think because some teams haven't performed well, and they've got 5 Champions League spots, remember. It would be tough, but they would finish in Europe, I think. Maybe not Champions League.
You're a homer and a half if this is debate.
No. Not
me?
Bundesliga. No, there's too many. You're talking about Columbus.
Serie A? They're not getting into no European spot.
They got 8 European
Napoli,
spots
Atalanta,
in that league.
Inter, Fiorentina, Lazio, Juve, Milan. They're not beating any of those teams.
Man, Fiorentina's had a good year this year so far. That's where they're at. And I'm not saying all 4 teams, but I'm looking at the Columbuses of the world, the LA Galaxies of the world. When you say top 4 seed, I don't know that these teams. You could say no way, but I think sometimes we don't give them. I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm trying to answer the question the way I feel it.
Let's be real.
You think this LA Galaxy team can't go and attack in Serie A?
I think this LA Galaxy team would not be able to defend the teams in the
Okay, so where would they finish
7.
in Serie A for you?
13-12, where Roma, Torino, Roma, Parma in that 11-12.
Parma, a promoted team this year with a bunch of young players on the team? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, yeah. I mean, I could buy that. I also think that they would fight some of those other teams that are in front of them. They don't fight with Milan. They don't fight with Inter. They don't fight with Juventus for sure.
Do you think they'd fight with Bologna?
This Bologna team, yeah. Bologna, remember, lost all their players last year.
But even this
and their manager, by the way.
Points. You know what I mean? Like even this Bologna has only 2 losses in Serie A. Out of 14 matches.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year Serie A for me. I said this to Marco the other day, and I think there are some teams that just have not performed well, man. They just haven't, and that's why for me it's so tight. Not because it can't be that all the teams are great, and that's why they're 2 points away. Sometimes because they're not performing great.
And what
you got a second place team with 3 losses after 13 games already, right?
What is the top 5? Is that Liga? Is that the 5th league? Would you say of the best 5s? So you have EPL,
is that who we're thinking?
Bundesliga. I would say but
there are Portugal, right? There are Portugal. I would think.
Well, PSG, Monaco, Marseille, Lille, Nice, Lyon are the top 6 right now, right? And then you have even Brest, who's 12th, is doing extremely well in Champions League. So
they're in a good run in Champions League.
For me, League One is the 5th best league in Europe, and I don't see the Galaxy or Columbus or Inter Miami even scratching the top 7 or 6. Sorry, in that league.
So you tell me like in Serie A, you're telling me like Empoli, Udinese, they can't beat these teams. Bologna, they can't beat any of those teams. I think you're crazy. If you don't think,
I think they could beat these teams, but we're talking about a season. They would not finish top 6, or they wouldn't finish top 8 in Serie A. Any of these teams.
I would think LA could compete. They need to be deeper. Look, our rosters are completely different. Like they need to be deeper in their roster. But as far as going there and playing with these teams. Yeah, of course it is. I mean, that's our issue. I mean, how many players come here and talk about managers? I mean, how many times have we heard Steve Cherundolo say, we play all these games, we don't have enough players, our players are dying here, and they get to finals and semifinals all the time, and you feel like they're running out of gas. We can
even see the comments, Tony, and because this is taped. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of hashtag homers in the comments about You taking a tough time to answer this question.
That I'm having what?
You're having a tough time. You're
answering what question? I just answered the question.
None of these teams can finish top 5 in any of these leagues.
Okay, I mean, top 5. Yeah, look, it'd be tough. I don't think that Columbus would be that far off if you give them a couple, depth players. I don't think LA Galaxy would be that far off.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, not. And I told you, not in La Liga, not in the Premier League for sure. But Liga, I think, is a tough league. I think Liga is weighted at the top and a little bit lesser at the bottom. How about the Eredivisie?
Yeah, I think they could. That one,
yeah.
Outside of the Ajaxes and your PSVs and your Feyenoord, and maybe Twente, Alkmaar, right? 4 or 5 there. LA Galaxy and Columbus Crew, they're competing there.
Yeah. So what are they in your mind? The 6th league, 7th league in Europe? I mean, I think we're discounting Portugal because Portugal's a good league.
But also very top heavy. I mean,
100%.
I'll give you 5 teams, and the rest is a big drop off. After Braga, because you got Sporting, Porto, Lisbon, Sporting, Porto, Benfica, Braga. What are you doing?
Yeah.
After that, huge.
I think if we put some depth in these rosters, I don't think they're as far off as you think they are. Again, we don't compete with Man City and Arsenal and those teams. I understand, but I don't think we're that far off from those teams. That's just my opinion. I get it.
Yeah.
You don't believe me. Clearly, you don't buy it. But yeah, but that's fine. That's fine with me. I'm a homer. Listen, I'm the last homer in the world for MLS. I've not had an MLS job my entire life. I don't know anything to them or them to me. It's not.
Okay.
I
believe you.
No, you don't know. Clearly, you don't. Right, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
Let's get to the next question.
Yeah.
All right. Opinions from San Bell. Opinions on St. Louis hiring Mellberg as a new manager. Olof Mellberg from Sweden, the former Swiss international, former Aston Villa center back. He was coaching at Brommapoikina, which is a smaller Stockholm club known for developing young talent. And typically, if you're a Brommapoikina Academy player, you sign with Hammarby, Djurgården, AIK, IKO, which are the 3 big Stockholm clubs, or you're going to abroad to another big club in their youth system. But he's come in, he's coached them. I think he did a pretty good job, but not a lot of experience, no experience within MLS in the United States. This is a unique hire, if you will, in the sense of St. Louis leaving, going away from Bradley Carnell and that Red Bull philosophy, and then going to sign Olof Mellberg.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him as a manager, only as a player, right? I mean, see what he's done with the club. I'm always a little bit skeptical in one regard when managers don't know the league all that well. And my concern is always managers from Europe that get frustrated. They get frustrated with, hey, my right back is not playing well. Let me go buy another right back. Well, no, you can't do that because that's not how it works here, and they get frustrated with that. I think people understand the league a little bit better than they used to back in the day. And I think I was a little bit surprised, actually, that John Hackworth didn't get the job because I thought he did a good job at the end of the season. I
thought they were going to go with Danny Cruz, to be honest, the USL Coach of the Year.
That's where I was going to go. That was the next name that came up. But they go here. So, I mean, good luck to them. We've seen this work and we've seen this fail before, right? We've seen every iteration in between of guys coming from places we didn't know. Look at Sandro Schwartz this year. I mean, who really knew a lot, even though he's got a pretty good resume, who really knew a lot about Sandro Schwartz, and now he's got a Red Bull team in the semifinals of the playoffs, So it happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there more examples of good? If there are more good examples or more bad examples, I don't know, but we've seen both for sure.
Yeah, and he's 47 years old, Olof Mellberg, and of the 70 matches he managed at Broma Poikana, which before that he took over at Helsingborg and only lasted 38 matches before being sacked. Here he coached 70 and was sacked in December with a 1.2 points per match. So not a lot of success either. So it's a strange hire. Let's talk about some of the other clubs, NYC, New York City FC deciding to sack Nick Cushing. Woo! That was, I guess he had been on the hot seat for a while. It felt like he turned things around, but maybe they had made their decision before losing to New York Red Bulls. Then you have Vancouver sacking Vanni Sartini. I thought he actually did well, given they fired him, given he, probably made the most of that squad. It wasn't like they were spending crazy money. Eric Quill got fired from FC Dallas. It's
got hired.
There's a lot of coaching changes. So now with Inter Miami hiring Javier Mascherano, the Club de Amigos is what they're nicknaming it, given the Barcelona friends group that have basically come together in Inter Miami. What do you make of this hire? Also, someone who has never coached a club professionally, just the youth national team set up in Argentina.
Yeah, look, I think we knew that this particular one, Messi would have a big say in this, right, and how this thing turned out. Was Jorge Mas a Barcelona fan? Does anyone know? Like, I maybe he said this before, and I don't know, but I feel like
I know David Beckham wasn't.
Well, yeah, I know. This must be killing Beckham. Yeah, he had the under-20s. He lost to France in the World Cup, the Youth World Cup, or was that the Olympic? No, in the Youth World Cup, he lost.
He didn't qualify initially for the U20 World Cup, but then they moved the tournament.
They moved the World
Argentina,
Cup, yeah.
So he gets in,
yeah,
and then he took over with the Olympic team, and they didn't do anything special, so they lost in the quarterfinals.
I will say this about these under 20 teams and under 8 teams. Don't judge managers on any of that stuff, man. That's where you cut your teeth. That's where some guys are great and then don't translate. Some guys are not good, but a lot of these, especially these, you talk about under 20s, especially these bigger footballing nations, they'll get nobody released for their clubs. Look what we had to go through just from our Olympic team standpoint. If we had all of the players that were age eligible playing at the Olympics, it might have been a different story, right? Maybe not against France, but Morocco was so good, but look who they were able to bring to their Olympics. So it's so hard to judge youth national team coaches, man. I was there for 5.5 years, and one camp you look great because that camp, everyone decided to release their players. And then you go to a tournament somewhere that's really important and, man, nobody gets released. And then you come back, you look at the results. We're like, our U18 team lost, and this was a great U18 team. Well, it was a U18 team because we had U18 jersey on, but it wasn't everybody there, So it's just so hard, man. I wouldn't judge. I never, and I say this all the time, I never judge the under 20s. That's where they figure out what kind of coach you are. And by the way, let's not forget, like everyone said, Steve Cherundolo got hired in LAFC. I don't remember what his record was in what was it, Las Vegas Lights, right? Which was their affiliate team. But I think they won. Great.
Yeah.
I think they won like a couple of games all year, but clearly they knew that was their guy, so it's so hard. Like I still think, like I said earlier with players, coaches, if you have to be in the right situation too, the right players, all of that stuff. There's no one formula, man.
Yeah, there is no one formula, and different coaches can deal with bigger personalities versus not. Some coaches, they feel like they have to overcoach, and it doesn't work out. Some people who are, I guess you're not expecting much from, come and do a terrific job. So yeah, it's all about situations, just like Jackson Ragen, right? Making the most out of a situation. You never know. But with that being said, We do have one matchup this weekend. PSV Utrecht could feature 5 Americans in the Dutch Eredivisie. Taylor Booth and Paxton Aronson, who's been killing it with Utrecht. I think they sit second place actually in the Eredivisie. That's a come up from a smaller club. Actually competed in that club in the Europa League back in 2007. But that's a big match with the 3 Americans on PSV, which could be interesting. With that being said, happy Thanksgiving. What a show. The dynamic duo is back again. Tony Meola.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And Chuck D. Happy Thanksgiving. I think next time we'll have Jimmy Cream Cheese Conrad back, so it'll be interesting. But much love to everybody. Respect. We are grateful for all the comments and the engagement. We love it. Keep it going. And thanks for taking it easy on Thanksgiving. Not too many triggering comments, I'm guessing, although the hashtag Homer is probably going to be killing Tony on Monday. With that being said,
hit me up at on my Twitter handle at Charlie Davies. That's where I'm at Charlie Davies.
Have a great week, rest of your week and a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday.